Good morning. Testing, testing.
Hello.
Good morning.
For the confusion this morning, that is completely my fault.
It's all right. We were looking at it, I was like, I think it's your Zoom.
It's my Zoom. Isn't that crazy?
That's awesome.
Okay. All right. I'm going to make you co host
Awesome.
and you can run the show from here.
Do we have anyone in the room?
I have one person in here. I'm about to share the Zoom link with
Okay.
our, um, I'm going to share it with our brokerage, all of our agents. Okay. So
That
I have
sounds good.
Mitch in here with you.
What's his name?
Mitch.
Mitch, come on up. Come up closer, man. We can have a more yeah, show nice, more intimate conversation here.
All right. Here we go.
There we go. So who did it all go out to?
It went out to the whole market center, and then we sent it to our PC people. But I don't know. Maybe it's because it's a gloomy day. The agents are.
Well, money, the whole what's fascinating about money is it's not the sexiest thing in the world to talk about, and most people don't know how to use it.
Yeah. No, it's really important, wouldn't you think?
You would
All
think
right.
so. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and send that out to everybody. If you see somebody wanting to be admitted, would
Okay.
you please do that because I'm not gonna be in here the whole
No problem. I got a little
time.
bit of an echo when I talk. There seems to be an echo in the background there. I don't know if you can potentially eliminate that.
Um, here's what I'll do. I'll mute and then I'll let
Okay.
if you want to
Mitch.
say something, you can unmute it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So then you won't hear that all the time because you're coming off our TV.
Oh, okay. Well, it's fine
Yeah.
just make sure he can hear it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, you're good to go. Thank you
You
so
want to
much.
record? Would you
It's
like to record?
recording. It's live streaming on our YouTube as we speak.
Whoa,
Yes.
VIP.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right.
Well, thank you so much.
All right. I appreciate you. Thank you. It's Mitch, right? Yeah. Okay. Mitch, it's just you and I, buddy. So you may have to give some words on thumbs up or thumbs down. And so this is really a little bit about money. Actually, it's a lot about money. And so, since you are the one here and it's being streamed through YouTube, we are going to have a conversation. However, it's obviously I'm on mute and it's going to be hard for you to talk back. However, it's really not designed to talk. It's really designed to be participatory, ask questions, some of those things. So if you do have some questions, please feel free to step up and just be able to ask or type them in the chat or whatever, how you'd like to do that. All right, so let's get started here. It's about 45 minutes or so, and really it's designed to give you some tips on money, and it's also designed to help you think a little bit differently in my presentation today and talking a little bit about money. And my goal here is to take something that can be overwhelming or potentially confusing to people and really simplify it. And so throughout today, I'm going to give you some tips on how to better understand your money and understand tracking your money. You're in real estate where most millionaires and billionaires are created, and yet most realtors don't track their money or really understand where their money. And here's what I do know that if you want to retire from this industry, at some point you're going to have to get a handle on your money. It's just a fact for that. And so today is going to be a little bit about some foundational steps in moving towards that. Is that fair? All right, so let me go ahead and introduce myself here. I'm going to pull up my PowerPoint here and just want to make sure you all can see that. Okay, so you can see just Mitch, thumbs up. Can you see my screen okay? Master your money. Okay, awesome, cool. All right, so this is for you don't know me or those that are listening. My name is Kyle Harrison. I've been a KW agent for a little over 20 years, being an executive coach and just over 10,000 coaching calls. And really my niche is team building, leadership, financials, and wealth building. And I've created a course and created content around build your exit. I help agents exit their business at some point in their career, whether it's 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. It's helping them develop a exit strategy to be able to retire without them having to sell another piece of real estate if they choose to. I'm also the CEO and founder of Your Bookkeeping Partner, a very real estate specific bookkeeping, payroll, and tax company. So today, money, financials, wealth, this is my love language. This is my jam. And so we're gonna get into some foundational stuff on money today. I'm also an active real estate investor with just a little over 300 doors. So I own a lot of real estate. I'm still buying real estate. I'm looking at more real estate today to potentially buy more real estate. So I'm an active investor. Obviously, you have to know your money to be able to do that. I live here in Carolina Beach, North Carolina, just outside of Wilmington. So this is my home. I'm about 6 blocks from the beach, and so it's life by design. That's exactly what I wanted. If there's anything in this life that I get right, is to be a fantastic dad to these girls. These are my two beautiful daughters. They're 21 and 19, and they grow up fast, and I'm just honored that they call me dad. So that's just a little bit about me, and we're going to jump into the content today. So my mission here is to empower agents to financial freedom. So thank you for allowing me to be here in front of you today to be able to do that. And my coaching creed is to help real estate agents create leverage so they can exit their business on their terms and their timelines. A lot of agents think about how to exit the business and they don't know how. And so my niche and what I've carved out the last several years is really around how to do it. There is pillars in how to do it. I teach it, I coach to it. There is a way of being able to do that, and I help agents do that. So here, Mitch, since you're the one here in the room here, actually it looks like Tim is in the waiting room. So let's make sure Tim is here. I'm going to pay attention to this over here. I got my other screen going over here, so we'll allow Tim here. Here's my question to you, Mitch. Now, do you have a like paper or are you typing some notes there? Yeah. So make 3 columns if you would, please. On your notepad, either on your notes or in something, or at least have an idea of what, because there's a question behind this. So if you would just think of it in this way, your personal or your business and your money is really about 3 buckets, what I call 3 buckets. It's your personal, it's your business, and your wealth. Okay, so if you can do that on your screen, I'd love for you to do this exercise with me. And Tim, if you're here, sounds like you are, do this exercise, at least work through this with me. Here's my question. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being an expert, what would you rank your relationship with money in these 3 categories? And you cannot use 7. That's where a lot of people actually they want to use 7, and that is not the point of this question. So let me just ask you, so Mitch, since you're my lone person here, or Tim, you can put it in the chat here. What was your answer for number for personal? What would you rank yourself on personal? Just hold up the number. Is it 5? Is it 1? Is it 10? How would you rank your relationship with your personal expenses and how well you track your money? Would it be a 5? About a 10? Can't really see that. Yeah, we're gonna have to do some sign language here for that. If it's a 7 or better, or even 8 or better, high five, good for you. If it's a 6 or less, that potentially would be a opportunity for growth and really start to understand your personal side of money. Now, do the exact same thing with business. If you're an 8 or better, high five, good for you. If you're a 6 or less, then that would be an opportunity to work on and do the exact same thing with wealth. There is usually, in my experience of doing this over 8 years and 10,000 coaching calls, there's usually a big gap in one of those buckets. And surprisingly enough, with high income earners, high realtors who make a lot of money, they typically have a pretty good sense of their business expenses, and their wealth may be a little fuzzy. A lot of times it's their personal that they don't really have a good handle on. And so I challenge you, whoever's listening, and Tim, if you're on here, and obviously Mitch here, which of the lowest numbers do you have to work on the most? So if it's personal, business, or wealth, that's where you would start and really getting a handle on your money and really starting to understand your money at a better level to really bring all three of those buckets up to a seven, eight, or nine. Okay. So that's one of the things is just to understand just a self-reflection. In order to change, you have to be aware. And for you to really kind of grade yourself is really critical in this piece. So then you actually know where potentially you need to work on or get better at. Okay. All right. If you want to grow your money, you have to know your money. That's just flat out. People say, I want to grow it. I want to become wealthy. I want to become independent. I want to have more time. And my first question back to them is, how's your relationship with money? And it's a one or it's a three. This is a fact. You have to know it if you want to grow it. And what is your relationship with it? And what are you doing to actually get better at it? And so this is understanding your money is basically a muscle. Are you looking at it and reviewing it every single day? And if you are not, that would be the first place to start. All right. Here's a really good view on money. I like to use this in all my presentations around money because it really is simple. I'm a person of simplicity and understanding. And Gary Keller sent an email out to us coaches, and I actually just pulled this from his email. This is word for word from his email. And number one, he said, first financial goal is for me to pay for my lifestyle. And if you're in the room or watching, chances are you're making enough money to support your lifestyle. When people can't do that, they usually get out of the business. They have to go find maybe a job or do something else to be able to put food on the table for their family. So for today, I'm going to trust that you are checkboxing that one already. Number two would be then to make and save enough money to pay for my lifestyle without having to work. This is where we get into the passive income. A lot of people say, well, I want to hit my freedom number. Well, my question back to them is, what is your freedom number? Well, I don't know. Well, this is actually a really good benchmark to potentially set where your first finish line to building freedom or building a number four wealth is to have your passive income pay for your lifestyle. That would be checkbox number two. And if you are doing that, you are way ahead of a lot of realtors and business professionals in this world because that's what they're working to. However, most don't have a plan to actually get there. So a goal without a plan is just a wish. So if you're getting there or you're working there, what is your plan to be able to do that? And are you on the path to be able to do that? Lastly, is then without having to work money at risk, which is your passive income, see how much I can grow myself and my money. That becomes the sport. And so if you really look at money in these three buckets, where are you on this? If you are in number three, this is a lot of fun. I'm in phase number three. This is a lot of fun because I'm building wealth, I'm creating legacy wealth and moving on. Not trying to brag here. I'm just saying it's the point. I was able to work through these three buckets, and you can too, as long as you have a path to be able to do that and understand that. So if you think of money in these three buckets, where are you, and do you have a plan to be able to move through these types of buckets? Okay. All right. This is probably the simplest formula, and it seems almost so simple that you're like, that can't be it. However, it really is this. And number one is spend less than you earn. Just spend less than you earn. So you earn X number of dollars, spend less than that. Number two, invest the surplus. Basically, invest what you are not spending. And then lastly, avoid debt. Now, there's an argument here, and we can argue on this or maybe have a good debate. Some people, you talk to Dave Ramsey, and he's like, oh, avoid all debt. Debt's debt, debt's bad. My personal belief is that there's good debt and there's bad debt. Good debt is credit card debt, or excuse me, bad debt is credit card debt. Good debt is maybe taking out a loan for a rental property that someone else is paying for. So really understanding the difference between those debts can really help you, and it can really hurt you if you don't understand that. Going out to get a car, that's bad debt, right? Buying a rental property or buying stocks, buying bonds, putting things in a mutual fund, that's good debt, right? So those are things, not necessarily buying, I guess, but taking out a loan to be able to buy some of that. That might be some good debt. So there, again, you really have to understand that. If you keep to this simple formula, then you will be able to build wealth. Non-negotiable. Spend less than you earn, invest the surplus, avoid debt. Okay. Here's where people get tripped up. Their lifestyle expands during the good years. And what typically happens, and again, I've been doing this a long time, is the more money, if you watch my hands here, the more money that agents make, their lifestyle creeps up with it. And they make more money, their lifestyle. So there is no gap. They can't invest the surplus. So the biggest thing here is to keep your lifestyle here as you're making money, invest the rest. And that's really the key to building long-term wealth. And wealth is a long-term game. Now you may hit the lottery or you may hit some stocks that triple overnight. That potentially is the luck of that. And people do it all the time. It does happen. However, if you look at wealth as a long-term game, a 10, 15, 20-year game, anyone can actually be millionaires. And it's proven with compound interest, and there's calculators out there that can show it. So this is what happens though. So as agents make more money, lifestyle goes up, and then agents' business comes down a little bit, or they have a tough year. Their lifestyle's up, and then all of a sudden they're negative, and that happens very quickly because the lifestyle is hard to bring back down when the money comes back down. It's easy to increase the lifestyle when the money's there. It's hard to bring it down when it's not. So that market turns allows stress, debt, panic selling assets. The real fix is build lifestyle off conservative average income, not peak income. Be smart about your lifestyle. All right, here's some good things. These are some tips that I use all the time. These are some great tips in really understanding your money. Credit Karma, if you're not familiar with it or don't have it on your app or on your phone as an app, it's absolutely free. You can link up to what am I trying to say? Just your credit. You can link up to your credit and monitor your credit on that. So Credit Karma is a really good app for that. And you can check it weekly, daily, however you want. It is interesting to tend to watch how your credit can go up and or down. So this is a really good app for that. Credit Karma does not have Experian. It has the other two. However, Experian is not on Credit Karma, on the free version of Credit Karma. So I downloaded Experian as well, and I like to be able to check all through credit bureaus. That's what it was, credit bureaus. There we go. So to really check through all three credit bureaus to see where my credit is. Now, fun fact, if I pay for everything through my credit cards, and so when a big expense hits, potentially my credit can really dip anywhere between 40 and 60 points. That's how the credit bureaus actually work. So if I'm going to go borrow something, I want to make sure my credit is at its highest so then I can actually get the better rates and better returns for borrowing money. So sometimes it takes a hit. So you just have to watch that. So that's why Credit Karma and Experian is a great way to be able to monitor that. And the other thing too is it's absolutely free. So you just download it, create an account for that. This is something that every person on the planet should do, and they don't. This avoids fraud, which is credit freeze. Put a credit freeze on all three of your credit bureaus: TransUnion, Equifax, Experian. Why? Because it could potentially avoid fraud. Banks will potentially run hard credit pulls or even soft credit pulls on your credit. It also allows for people to not get a hold of your information and run credit cards on your credit without you knowing, because you got to pull a credit report on those credits. So this is a way to be able to potentially avoid fraud when someone gets potentially a hold of your information. Now, if you need to undo it or you need to borrow money, banks will say, I need to pull your credit. The question then becomes, is what credit bureau are you going to pull? And a lot of times they already know. And some banks say, well, I don't know, it's just going to pull a random. So what I would do, it takes me less than 10 minutes to do. I put a temporary unfreeze on all of these three credit bureaus for a period of time. I let my bank know, go ahead and pull it. And then you can set it where it'll automatically go back to freezing your credit again. So this is a really good hack to be able to protect some of your credit and make sure to avoid some of the fraud. You can't always avoid the fraud. However, this is a good way to be able to do that. Have a budget or use software to track expenses. So this is a really good thing. There's some good information out there. Every dollar I use Quicken, Mint, Excel. There's some really good tools out. Monarch is another one that are really good tools. They link up with your bank account that you can pull in that information, be able to see where you're spending things. And again, this is just really about having some sort of relationship with your money on a consistent basis. The biggest thing here, if you don't hear anything from me today, is to take away this today, put it on your schedule, hold it as if you were going to take $1 million listing, is have a date with your money. Have a weekly date with your money and really hold that and honor that time slot, because what's going to happen is you are going to start finding patterns in that date, and you're going to start asking the questions will come to you when you are visiting your money on a regular basis. This is one of the most important things that realtors should do in their business, especially if they want to go from being a realtor to a business owner. This is really a better way of understanding and having a relationship with your money. Okay. All right. Here's a couple other things, action items I recommend is I set up credit card notifications on my phone. And why I do this, every time a credit card swipes, I get to see the notifications on it. So why is this important? I was sitting at a gas station one time. I put $70 of gas into my truck. And then all of a sudden I got a notification that it pulled $200 right there, right before I even left the gas station. Walked right into the gas station. I said, "Here's a problem." I took $70 and it's $200. Guy with the manager. Come to find out, it's just how it posts on my notification. I went into my credit card app and I saw the $70 taken out of that credit card. So again, it just allowed me to see that. One prime example, I got a notification for $662 from a Six Flags in Houston. Now, I have several people using credit cards because I own multiple businesses. So I texted my CFO and said, "Hey, did you see this?" She's like, "I saw it and I have no idea what it is." I put a credit freeze. I put immediately cancel that card. There was four more charges right behind it, up to $2,000. So somebody had gotten my credit card, used it. However, that notification, if I didn't see that, I wouldn't have been able to deal with it right there on the spot. So notifications are a really, really good way of being able to protect yourself. Separate business and personal. I'm going to trust everyone is doing that. If that's not you, then you should absolutely do separate your business from your personal. It is you are asking for an IRS audit if you are not, and you are missing out on thousands of dollars of taxable income or taxes that you can write off at the end of the year. By all means, if you're a business owner in real estate, separate, separate, separate. Do not commingle. Period. Non-negotiable. Super easy, everybody. If you don't have an LLC or an S corp or really separate your business from your personal, just go to the bank and designate one credit card for your business, and it can be under your personal name, and one checking account for your business, and it can be under your personal name. It does not have to be a business account. You're just dedicating these two accounts strictly for business and business only. Do the exact same thing with your personal. Voila, you've separated everything. Make sure money comes in from your commissions through your business account. If you need to transfer money over to your personal, transfer from your business account over to your personal account. Okay. However, if you're going to separate it, make sure money comes through the business. What's personal is personal. Make sure you don't commingle that with the business. And it's really, really easy to do. You just have to be a little bit smarter about it and how you think on using money. Have at least 3 months reserved if you can. Goal would be 12. That's a pretty standard. If you can get to six, fantastic. However, at least have a 3 month reserve for each business, for business and for personal. Okay. Quarterly audit. I'm not going to go over the spending freeze exercise. However, we do have a spending freeze exercise, and I'm happy to email this out to your market center. It is a really, really eye-opening experience when clients do it. Basically, it's a 90-day pull from all your bank statements and credit card statements, and you put highlighters to each category. So like housing and cars and food. So you highlight each category, and then you add things up. When I've had clients do this, they found fraud. One client found that they were spending $450 at Starbucks every month. They found that in the 90 days. This is my favorite. One client realized that someone had gotten their credit card and was buying dinner on them anywhere between $100 to $150 a month for the last 10 months. There was fraud happening, obviously, right? So this is a really good exercise to make sure you understand where your money is going and potentially avoid fraud. All right, let's get into the business side of things. Having a profit and loss. If you're going to run a business, this is something that you have to have non-negotiable. I set up businesses and help people exit the business as if they were going to sell their business, and their P&L and a profit and loss is mandatory to be able to do that. Think about it. If you're going to go buy a plumbing business, would you want to see their profit and loss for the last 2 or 3 years? The answer is yes. It's no different than as realtors. If I was going to go buy your business today, I would say, show me the last 3 years of your profit and loss. If you cannot produce that, chances are I'm not buying it. So again, produce a profit and loss even through Quicken. If you understand QuickBooks or you're making enough money to hire a company like ours to be able to do that for you, awesome. However, you can do a simple Excel spreadsheet. There's simple ways to do it. You just have to make it a priority to be able to do that. Now, I'm not going to go in these five. However, these five KPIs, I teach a class called Mastering Your Profit and Loss, or Decoding Your Profit and Loss is what I teach, where I do a deep dive into revenue, cost of sale, compensation, lead gen, and net operating income. So I won't do that on today just because of time constraints today. However, in your business, you track these five KPIs, key performance indicators. This is the high level of your business. You will be doing very, very well. So if you track your revenue, cost of sale, compensation, meaning staffing, not your compensation for any 1099 employee or any W-2 employee. You track that really close. That's going to be important. And then your lead gen, and then lastly is what's your net operating income. So again, this is the business side of things. This potentially is for another class. I do a scuba dive into all these, what it means, what these numbers actually mean. How do you start to decode your profit and loss, make better business decisions when you understand these numbers? And again, it's about taking off your realtor hat and putting on your CEO hat. This is a fun one. If you don't know this is something that you should calculate right now. It's really, really easy. If you know your annual GCI from last year, just divide this by 2080. And 2080 represents the average full work year. So how many hours are in a work year? So you start to get an understanding. A lot of times when I'm teaching in person or on Zoom or a lot of questions, people ask me, Kyle, when should I hire someone? Well, let's figure out what your hourly rate is. How much money are you making? And sometimes people have been in the hundreds of dollars an hour and they say, well, I'm still doing a lot of paperwork, transactions. I'm still doing some of the things that support the business. Well, that's probably a good indicator that you need to hire someone, especially if your hourly rate is 100, 150, 200, maybe even plus more than that. That would be a really, really good indicator, because every time you're touching something that doesn't make you money, you're actually losing money of your time. So it's really, really important for you to start understanding what your time is valued, and then are you maximizing your time? All right. Track your expenses. We talked a little bit about that. Here's some good tax tips on the business side of things. I'm not a CPA or an accountant. I just know enough to be dangerous. I've been doing this for a long time and be able to see where there's some tax write-offs that you want to really pay attention to, as long as you're tracking them and doing it well. Number one is meals. Meals, if you're having a coffee, lunch in between appointments, coffee, lunch with clients, anything real estate related, you want to make sure you're running that through your business. Meals are 50% write-off. So that $50 lunch, you get $25 of that as a write-off at the end of the year. So that starts to add up a lot to be able to push down some of your taxable income. Make sure you're tracking mileage. Mileage is really good. I think it's 70 cents now, 72 cents a mile. So really pay attention to your business mile, what it is and what it is not. If you are headed to the office, that is not mileage for your business. If you're going from the office to an appointment, that is mileage for your business. So you really want to make sure that you're paying attention to that mileage. Office expenses, sponsorships. Here's an interesting one. Here's a fun fact I'll slow this down because you'll want to pay attention to this one. A lot of people will give money to nonprofits, or will give money to charities of their choice. When the minute that you stroke a check for that nonprofit, that is called a charitable contribution. Okay. So let's just say, for example, you write a check for $500 to a charitable contribution or to a nonprofit. On your profit and loss, that is anywhere between a 6 to 8% write off. Not 68, 6 to 8% write off. However, if you switch it and say, Mr. and Mrs. Nonprofit, I love what you're doing. I'd be happy to give $500. However, I would like to sponsor a team, sponsor an event. I would like to do something to sponsor whatever you're doing. That same $500, if you do that, is 100% write off. So charitable contribution versus sponsorship. So you really want to make sure that if you want the write-off, the nonprofit wins because you're sponsoring something, and you win as a business owner because you get to write off that information or write off that sponsorship. Branded versus non-branded, brand everything. Brand everything. You get more of a write-off for that. If you have coaching, you can write off of that, right? You track your lead gen, those things are write-offs, right? So branded versus non-branded, brand everything because you get a bigger write-off for that. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. I hit my little thing there. All right, so moving on. Here's some of the financial mistakes I see people make: treating the business like a job, not an asset, right? So this is part of really understanding your money. You're starting to treat it as an asset. You run everything through personal. Oh gosh, I keep clicking this. Sorry about that, gang. All right. They have no clean financials. They don't track profitability. They can't calculate net margin. And then really, here's why it matters. If you can't show consistent transferable income and systems, your business has little or no exit value. Remember, my coaching and my focus is around helping agents exit the business. And this is a big place to start. So if you're not doing that now, this would be a great place to start doing that. The fix is just that there on the screen: monthly profit and loss. Start tracking some of those KPIs and really start getting better at understanding your business. Financial mistake number two: no tax strategy. They just show up in March, April, rush to get all the accountant what they need, and then they don't have any strategies around it. So by that time, you're late to the game. If you are really intentional, have meetings at least twice a year with your accountant. I recommend quarterly, however, minimum twice a year, and start working through tax strategies, especially for you high income earners that are listening. Don't wait until April. You're underpaying estimated taxes. There's a lot of things that you want to do as a business owner. The government and the IRS gives us a lot of benefits to be able to write things off, and it's a lot of tax loopholes. You want to make sure you're working with your accountant to be able to take advantage of those. Okay. S corp election, you should be an S corp if you're making over 150,000 is usually the threshold. Talk to your CPA or accountant about that. If you're making over 150,000, you should be an S corp, meaning that you should be paying yourself a salary. There is tax benefits to doing that. So if you're under that, it might not be worth it because there is extra expenses in the filings and having your accountant do some of these things. And so there is some extra expenses that go along with S corps. However, the tax savings are usually higher than those expenses. 401ks, SEP IRAs, Roth IRAs, make sure you're investing in those. Those are great long-term wealth strategies. If you are buying real estate, cost segregation is really the number one tool that investors are using to push down their taxable income. If cost segregation is a first thing and you're just hearing this for the first time, do the research. So this is a major plus in being able to buy real estate to be able to help not only build wealth, but you're also able to use some of the write-offs in that investment to push down some of your taxable income. All right. So result: paying 5 to 15% more in taxes than necessary. That's significant. So if you're making two, three, 400, half million plus, 5% is a lot. 15% is a lot. So again, this is going back to make sure that you have good tax strategies around this. Here's one of my favorite quotes: being rich is having money, being wealthy is having time. Think about that for a second. Being rich is having money, being wealthy is having time. Are you able to do things that you want, with whoever you want, when you want to do it? Right? So again, we can use money to be able to create wealth that gives you your time back. Also, we can hire people to leverage our time to be able to get our time back. So super, super important around this. All right, let's get into some of the little wealth piece. I know I'm throwing a lot of information at you today. However, the goal is for you to just to pick up some things and implement this here in the next 24 hours. The fact that there's only two people on here is amazing to me because every single realtor is probably making money and yet they have no idea at the end of the year what their net is. So high five to you guys that are here really wanting to lean into this and learn a little bit more about money and being able to build wealth. You are a fraction of typical realtors think. So high five to you, and I appreciate you guys being here. All right, let's get into some wealth things. Develop a 5-year wealth plan. A goal without a plan is just a wish. So think about 5 years and start to work backwards. So what's your 5-year goal? Work backwards to what you need to do today. And there's tools out there that can help you do that. So just be thinking about what that looks like. What's your freedom number? What gives you that time back? What gives you the number that you would be able to do whatever you want when you want and with whoever you want? What wealth models are you following? Right? Everything's a model, everybody. So if you're not following a model, I guarantee you you're working harder and making less. Period, non-negotiable. End of story. So what model are you running? Are you investing in 401ks, IRAs? That's a model, right? Do you have a 70% rule on how you invest in real estate? There's models. When I do investing, I have a model. That's why I'm going to look at property today because that model fit within my buy box. I have a model. I buy things that fit into that buy box. I use the 70% rule, the 1% rule, the BRRRR strategy. I still use these models in building my wealth, right? So what model are you running and are you super clear on what they are? Understanding financing options. There's a lot of the properties that I buy are not with my own money. Okay. So I use a lot of seller financing. Subject to is one. I use a lot of hard money lending, equity partnerships, right? There's ways of building massive wealth and not even stroking one check of your personal money. I teach that. I work with agents on how to do that, how to leverage things so you can actually buy things without using your own money. So understand financing options, really understand these technical things. And when you start to understand how hard money works, equity partnership works, subject twos, seller financing, you all know traditional. Oh, I want to make sure I didn't hit mute. You all know traditional financing. That's pretty standard. 20% down or Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA loans, VA loans. You already know some of those things. I encourage you to get into the seller financing, subject twos, hard money lending. These are great tools to build wealth without having to use your own money. Do the work, everybody. At the end of the day, these are the things that you really should be doing is call investors, build relationships with them, ask them what they buy and how and why. Really start to understand how they think. Each investor works differently. So really understanding what they do and how they do it and then adopt a model that they have or take all the models that they use and make your own model from it. At the end of the day, you need to be able to have a model. Would they be a hard money lending? A lot of these investors have a lot of cash, right? So hard money lending, I use hard money lending all the time. I'm a hard money lender to people. So this is a great resource to be able to build wealth, to build income, and to be able to use other people's money. Research the models. We talked about that. Practice running scenarios. If you don't understand, you understand your buy box, but you don't understand what a good investment is versus a bad investment, talk to your investors and start running different scenarios. So when that perfect property hits your desk or hits your plate, you understand what you would buy and you'd be able to pull the trigger on that. Financial mistakes that investors make and agents make, they think they've made it. If they made a $500,000 or $1 million, they think they're wealthy. And that is just simply not true. Period. Simply not true. Wealth is equity, invested capital, cash flow, appreciating assets. The only way you build wealth is when your money is working for you while you sleep. If you are working for money, you are not building wealth. You're just building a high income. Okay. All right. Another financial mistake, no retirement structure. Read these carefully. No 401k, no cash balance, no tax advantage. People don't have taxes or, excuse me, living trusts or wills. You don't even have to have a huge business. Go have a living trust and a will. It doesn't cost a ton of money to do. If you've ever experienced something with probate, Protect your family. Go get a living trust and a will. You do not want to have your family have to go through probate. This is part of the retirement strategies. These are little things that you can do over time. Wealth is not an event, it's a strategy, it's a journey. 400K income agent not using retirement structures can easily leave six figures of tax savings on the table over the next few years. Easily. And I've seen it. Okay. All right. You can't retire off of income. You can only retire off of assets. So if you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to make a ton of money until I die, great. You're working for money. You're going to have to invest. You're going to have to buy assets. You're going to have to do some of these things over a period of time for you to be able to retire if you choose. Now, I've seen some people go show houses on walkers. That is just not something I'm intended to do. If that's something you want to do and you want to go to list a house or an open house with a walker, that's perfectly fine. There's no judgment here. I trust that most people do not want to do that. So you really have to be thinking about investing in assets. If you're not doing this, now I get no money from this. Okay. And this is just a pro tip. I think I get like $5. So I take that back. I think I get like $5 to invest. It's going to pay my mortgage. I'm kidding. Um, I just believe in this app so much that I promote it because it's that good. Okay. Acorns is a roundup app. So if you buy that $4.50 coffee, it rounds it up to five, takes the 50 cents and goes invests it for you. It's automatic. It's a fantastic tool just to start creating automatic wealth. It's awesome. Now I've set a SEP IRA up in Acorns. I do some investing outside of just the roundup in Acorns. You also use Robinhood, which is a really, really great app. However, Acorns is a really good. This is the QR code. It's just a referral if you click on it. The one thing about building wealth that you have to understand, all the studying that I've done, is if it's not automatic, you won't build it. You have to understand where your money is going, how you do it. Now, you go into Acorns, you can set up aggressive, conservative, moderate. I personally have moderate, and it is fun to check this about once a quarter, once a month or so, and just see how fast it's growing because it actually just grows. And anyway, it's just a great app. I can't say enough about it. I have no financial ties to this company. However, I just really believe in it, and it's helped a lot of people start to build wealth. I've got my kids doing this, and so it's just fantastic wealth building tool. All right, here's some resources that if you want to get better and you want to start plugging into the psychology of money. I read this about once a year just to keep centered on money. It's a really, really good book around how you grew up with money, what your view on money is showing up, and how you think today. It's a really, really good book by Morgan Housel. I think he wrote a new book. I haven't gotten that one yet. However, Psychology of Money is a really good one. Rich Dad Poor Dad, you probably have heard of that one. That one's a great book on mindset and just understanding the wealth building strategy. Simple Path to Wealth. It's a fantastic book by J.L. Collins. He just breaks everything down to simplicity. And same with David Bach. He does the exact same thing in Automatic Millionaire, just keeping it very simple and understanding the long-term game of things. So at the end of the day, we went over personal, business, and wealth. I started giving you some information around how to get better at the personal, being able to protect yourself from fraud. We talked about business, really how to set things up, getting some of your credit cards on notifications to be able to protect yourself, what you should start to actually track within your business. And then we started to scrape the tip of the iceberg on wealth. Wealth is really a mindset, everybody. You really have to be an investor first, a realtor second on that. Okay, here's just some contact information. You can find me on CoachKyleHarrison.com, yourbookkeepingpartner.com, or Build Your Exit. You can find me on there. And then also, if there's a survey here, you don't have to fill that out. However, we like to get feedback on our classes and our courses. And so if you have any feedback, we would love to be able to have that or get that from you. We'd really appreciate it. We always want to continue to bring information to you and really bring value to you. Again, my mission is to empower agents to financial freedom. This is what I do. This is no cost to your market center today. However, I'm just super passionate about helping agents build a financial future. All right, with that, I'll wrap it up. Tim, it looks like Mitch left here, and we will wrap it up. If you have any questions, please let me know. And yeah, we can just talk if you'd like.
All right, will do. Thank you. Thanks for your
Sure.
information.
Yeah, my pleasure. Do you have any questions?
What was your contact information again? Can I just get that real quick?
Yeah. So do you want my cell or my
Yeah, I'll just
email?
yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Cell's 801-608-7300. Yeah, so that's my
Okay,
cell.
great.
And then you can
All
find
right.
me at Kyle at CoachKyleHarrison.com. Kyle
Okay.
at CoachKyleHarrison.com. Yep.
Okay, cool. Cool. Got
All
that.
right.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, my pleasure. If you have any questions, Tim, I will respond or one of my staff will respond. So whatever you need, my friend, please let me know. And I'm glad you were here today. So thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for the information. Appreciate it.
Okay, you bet. Have a great day. Talk to you soon, Tim.
You too.
Thank you. All
Mhm.
right, yeah, bye.
Bye.